Hello and welcome to a rather special Sunday repeated on Wednesday program, and this is
the Mojo Hand, the winning boy's magic.
Marge, this ticket doesn't just give me a seat. It also gives me the right, no, the duty to make a complete ass of myself.
But as for me, I'm off to battle aliens on a faraway planet.
Hello, operator, give me the number for 911.
Who sent you here? Can't talk, little man? Bet can't play none either.
I could pull a better cartoon out of my ass. Hey, whoa! Wasn't that great, kid?
Oh, bitch.
Kill my boss! Do I dare live out the American dream?
Overload. Pleasure overload.
Uh-oh. 2 independent thought alarms in one day.
Good morning, Wood Dixon Patriots. Welcome to the Just Jim Show. Coming to you live from the bunker at Lake Wish I Be Gone. Yeah. We've been doing some stuff, having a lot of things go on around the world and or right here at the bunker. I'm telling you, you can't stay up late at night and make this stuff up. Can you? Hey, we're going to talk about, of course, we'll talk a little bit about Ukraine, Mr. Putin, who seems to be tootin'. And I'm not sure. I hope to God I'm recording this. I'm not sure. I tried to double up on YouTube, or excuse me, Facebook today. Meta. Oh, and speaking of Meta, I got a little love letter from them today that is kind of interesting to the degree that I'm getting an official notice that they're going to protect my account. Yeah, of course he is. Your account has the potential to reach a lot more people than the average Facebook user. Hackers are often motivated to attack accounts that have a lot of followers, run important pages, or hold some community significance. Little old me has community significance? I love it. It says that I must turn on Facebook Protect for your account, for my account, by March 17th. After that, you will be locked out of your account until you enable it. We've already turned on advanced login protections for your account to fully enable Facebook Protect. We'll check your account for vulnerabilities and help you resolve them. Am I vulnerable? Do I look like I'm vulnerable? Right there it is, a little email love letter from Mr. Meta himself. If you talk about Meta, you're going to get one of those. And significance? I can only hope. I do hope that's true. We're going to talk a little bit today about threat reduction programs, which extend to the Ukrainian XYZ biological facilities. Now, before we get too carried away, I'm going to take you right over to Wuhan and COVID. We've been 2+ years in the COVID routine. Lockdowns, face masks, piles of bull. Yep. If I had my siren mode, I would turn on the siren over here. Ta-dum-ta. Anyway, and if you don't remember that last 2 years, you have had one too many pokes. Anyway, the Wuhan lab, we have found out, and we've told you in the past, that the United States of America, my country, your country, has been supporting financially the biological work that's been going on in the Wuhan lab, that everybody knows that's where it came from. Although me and my friends, we like to eat wet bats. So I guess you can take that any which way you want. If you don't believe that, maybe you will believe that the CV virus came from experimentation in a loosey-goosey laboratory. And everybody does the fact-checking And the same holds true for this subject right here. Are there or are there not biological labs in the Ukraine that are paid for by the United States? Now, don't get all half-cocked about this, because MSN has said, let me see if I can find it. Let me come right over here. Bear with me here. Let's take this up. And, of course, now we can go over here to this. Now, see this? It says, fact checks, false claim of U.S. biolabs in Ukraine tied to Russian disinformation campaign. What? Of course. Now, that's MSN, our friends over at Microsoft. Let me move this down the ladder here. Now, let's go over to I'm just setting the groundwork to what I'm about to tell you. Let's go over here now. This is the Arms Reduction or Arms Control Association, which Mr. Obama signed on to. And here is the little comment right here. If you follow my little mouse, the agreement was signed during the visit to Kiev of a high-level U.S. delegation led by Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Richard Lugar, Republican from Indiana, and Senator Barack Obama, Democrat from Illinois. Oh, what? You say? Now, remember, MSN is saying this is false. So I'm just feeding it out there to you. And I'm going to also then go over here. That right here. You tell me if it's true or not. This is out of Newsweek. Another reputable news delivery organization. But you want to know something? My Meta account is going to get nailed if I don't provide their security. But here we go. Here's Newsweek. Vladimir Putin advisor says U.S. is developing biological weapons near Russia. Let's just play this bad boy.
Слушайте, что вы делаете? Представьтесь, пожалуйста, можете представиться? А можете представиться? Вы меня задерживаете? Что вы меня тащите? Я сама пойду, хорошо, оставьте меня. Отпустите меня.
This was in about a year ago. 4/8 of 20.
Будьте добры, пройдите, пожалуйста.
Представьтесь, пожалуйста.
Вам нужно.
Ладно, я сама пойду, не тащите меня. Хорошо, не надо, я пойду сама. Успокойтесь.
Of course, if it is false, it's easy enough to, excuse me, not COVID, to put 500 cameras around somebody being marched off in a gulag manner. Now we're gonna stop this because we already know where we're going with this. If in fact she was being arrested, as the article goes on to talk about, but it's been fact checked by MSN, yet Newsweek threw this out a year ago. This was over a year ago. 4/8 of 21. And when everyone talks about the sanity or insanity or Putin not being stable mentally up in the noggin, I got to go back and I got to fact check this stuff. And right now I haven't gotten into it, but I wanted to throw this out there for a lot of people. And this does not make me a Russian sympathizer. Not happening. I am true blue American. But yet all of these facts from I can't tell you how long, over the last 2 years, has led many people to understand, including, Moderna owns the gene sequence patent for the coronavirus bug. Not a lot of mainstream media people are talking about that. But I'm going to tell you, they do. And if you remember, there's 2 players in the antivirus vaccine world? What happened to Johnson & Johnson? Boy, did they get kicked out of the game, didn't they? They had a one-shotter. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm getting bumped here or not. You'll have to bear with me if my show doesn't go full length till I decide to turn it off. You'll know why. Because I think I'm trying to stream to Facebook. Mr. Meta. Anyway, let's get right to it. The original outreach fell under in the biological downplay, much like the nuclear arms race that was everyone tried to knock down. The U.S. This is from William Huntington. Threat reduction program extends reach to Ukrainian biological facilities. Now, this article being written talks directly about with U.S. cooperation between Ukraine under the Nunn-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction. Now, remember, it was signed by Lugar, one of the people in the program in the anti-biological realm, was expanded August 29th. That would have been last year, with an agreement to use U.S. CTR funds to improve security for pathogens stored at biological research and health facilities in the former Soviet Republic. Okay, now, and that would have been Barack Obama. The old boy was the other side of this, the Republican-Democratic outreach to trying to stop biological programs. Not to be confused with a recent, if you watch one of my other shows, excuse me, not COVID, if you watch one of my other shows, we talk about what's called the humanization of mice, which is being held right here in the United States of America, using aborted fetal body parts, being paid for by the U.S. government. Yes, us. Your tax dollars, my tax dollars. Under the agreement, CDR funds will, for the first time, flow directly to projects aimed at securing pathogen strains and sensitive biological knowledge within Ukraine. So we're trying to control the information flow. The United States will also work to improve Ukrainian capabilities to detect, diagnose, and treat outbreaks of infectious diseases. Now, and on the surface, that's pretty cool. We want to help protect our brethren around the world, as well as determine whether outbreaks are natural or the result of bioterrorism. Now, so far, this sounds really pretty good. The agreement was signed during a visit to Kiev of a high-level U.S. delegation led by Senate Foreign Relations Chairman Richard Lugar, Republican of Indiana, and Senator Barack Obama, Democrat of you-know-where. Among the facilities in Ukraine intended to receive security upgrades are those once linked to a Soviet-era anti-plague network. Interesting terminology. Which continue to store libraries of naturally occurring pathogens for the purpose of research and public health. Oh, does this sound like Wuhan? Now, national security, number one. And when you reach outside your borders, I presume that we as Americans like to have input into the things that are going on in other countries that might be considered biohazards or have military applications. And Cold War aside, this is biological warfare. Excuse me, it may damn well be there's a quarter. The end game for us as a people. Think about that. Boy, Hollywood writes about it all the time, doesn't they? Among the facilities in Ukraine intended to receive security upgrades are those ones linked to, I read that already. Andy Fisher, spokesman for Lugar, told Arms Control today on September 15, the anti-plague facilities were, quote-unquote, threats, and they are threats, given the, end quote, given the risk that poor security could allow terrorists access to the pathogens. Hello? They hack into your computer. They hack into stuff and get stuff. Oh, Wuhan, let's let it loose. Cooperation under the new agreement will not be limited to physical security over pathogens. Funds will be available for the peaceful employment of scientists whose skills and financial insecurity could render them potential targets for states or independent groups looking to acquire bioweapons capabilities. Toward that end, pathogens from Ukraine health and research facilities will be shared with U.S. partner laboratories. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. And if I'm still on the air, listen up. Under the CTR agreement with Azerbaijan, the United States last month also received a transfer of pathogens. We received a transfer of pathogens. Got that? That means we took pathogens into our control from similar facilities in that former Soviet republic. At first step forward toward implementation of the agreement, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, or DTRA, will conduct an assessment of biological facilities in the Ukraine to determine what sites will receive assistance. And you know what that means. Tax dollars, you betcha. Funds within the current DTRA budget will cover the assessment phase. Additional implementation funds could be appropriated in fiscal year 2007. This is way back. This is in the way back machine. As of August 29th, the agreement falls on the established CTR framework. Neither Congress nor the Ukrainian Rada will need to provide further authorization before implementation begins. So this was the be-all, end-all. We send our boys over there, Barack O'Boy, and some other people, and they cut this deal. They commit under the auspices of the Senate, the Congress, your Senate, my Senate. And negotiations on the 29th agreement spanned more than a year. So it took them a year to cut this deal. This was, 07? So this was freshly after Ukraine became an independent state. One administration official requested anonymity told Arms Control today that inter-Ukrainian political and bureaucratic hurdles were surmounted by a combination of strong U.S.-Ukrainian relations. That means we gave them a bunch of stuff. And the presence of a high-level U.S. delegation. A press release from Lugar's office specifically credited the then Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko with breaking a logjam within the Ukrainian government bureaucracy. Now, this is way back in the 07 days, which means that, and you know as well as I do, quote unquote, the mouse that roared got the benefits. So there, in 07, we sent him a bunch of money in order to cut that deal. Actually, I got that in the wrong spot. Sorry. We'll throw that down there. Now, let's go to today. We'll fast forward. We're fast forwarding to today. Vladimir Putin's advisor says U.S. is developing biological weapons near Russia. And if I can find quickly, I will not spend much time on it. Hang on, I got to get my map. I think I might have blown it up. Not cool. All right. I got to get rid of that. And let's get over here. Here we go. There it is, right there. Where is it? Let's see if take a second to call this up here. Under the, this is the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. This is a description of, there it is, biosafety labs. What are biosafety labs? On the surface, one might say that they are things that would be good for us to safely handle some not so safe stuff, some nasty stuff. I got more information. There's a video tour here of a BSL lab. They're used to study moderate risk agents that pose a danger if accidentally inhaled, swallowed, or exposed to the skin. Whoa, now wait a minute. Is this Wuhan with COVID-19? Or is this some lab over in Ukraine where something has been let loose? And somewhere here, and I'll get it, I'll dig it up here. There is a list of Ukrainian incidences over the last, I think it was 3 years, from 2017 to today. And they weren't major incidences, but there were deaths and serious sickness involved. And I will pull that up. I got to find it. If I don't do it here, I'll add it to the video later. Keep an eye on credits down here. Anyway, the Russian President Putin's chief security advisor said Moscow has, quote, good reason to believe, quote, end quote, the U.S. is developing biological weapons along the borders of Russia and China. You have to be kidding me. We don't do that stuff. We don't. Just ask Fuciyami, Dr. Fuciyami. That guy, he's always got his mug on TV. He's got his mug on more TVs than I do. I'll guarantee you that. I don't know if you want to believe everything he says, but hey, you know. Anyway, Patrushev, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce all these. I can hardly pronounce my name. Hell, I can't even get Sniffin' Joe right. Who is the secretary of Russia's Security Council, made the comments during an interview with the Russian newspaper, in which journalist Elena Chernenko asked him about claims that China had deliberately, quote unquote, caused the coronavirus pandemic. Oh, wait, were we talking about that? Defending Beijing, he replied, quote, I suggest that you look at how and more biological laboratories under U.S. control are growing considerably in the world, and by a strange coincidence, mainly by the Russian and Chinese borders. So, yeah, I have a map, if I can find it, that shows where all of these biological labs are located within Ukraine. Now, remember we talked in 2007, they cut the deal where we were going to come in, provide financial aid, security upgrades, and monitoring services at the labs inside of the Ukrainian borders, mostly near the Russian and Chinese borders. So now we're talking about this. Russia shares land borders with 16 countries, the most of any nation in the world. China shares frontiers with 14 countries, as well as a special administration region of Hong Kong. He did not name any specific countries, but said, quote, Americans help local scientists develop new ways to fight dangerous diseases. And I would tend to agree that between the United States and the World Health Organization, we probably do. We and our Chinese partners have questions. Interesting comment coming out of a Kremlin representative. We and our Chinese partners have questions. Anyway, we're told that there are peaceful sanitary and epidemiological stations near our borders. But for some reason, They are more reminiscent of Fort Detrick in Maryland, where Americans have been working in the field of military biology for decades. Now, everybody knows that everybody's got their secret agents and their people snooping around, and there are times that we're not very secretive about what labs are where, what they're doing. But you can't go look at them. Wait a minute. Is there some alien community where we can't go look? Area, what was that, 51? Anyway, he added the authorities in those jurisdictions had, quote, no real idea of what's happening within their walls, and that there were outbreaks, quote, uncharacteristic for these regions, which leads me to the illnesses and deaths that were happening in Ukraine around these so-called non-existent biological laboratories. And he didn't, at the time, go into any of the diseases that were there, but they're on the CDC or the World Health Organization site, which I said I have. I do have to find the map somewhere here. It's one of these. Okay, where are we? Take me 2 seconds to find this. In worst case, I'll go to commercial break and come back when I find the map. Oh, wait a minute. Here we are. Let's take a look here. We'll go full screen. Let's see what they say on the map here. This is interesting, folks. It's interesting. Right, here we go. Let's go take a look here now. I'm going to show you this screen. And I'll does this narrative bring to mind anything that's been going on anywhere over the last 2 years? Here's a map right here by MSN, your well-known news reporting company. When COVID-19 pandemic hit, Russia teamed up with China to further amplify the false claim of U.S. labs in Ukraine. The goal was reportedly to call into question whether coronavirus originated in one of the U.S. controlled labs. Here's the little map. Now, this is out of MSN. Remember that, please. This is a hot link. Watch this. Uh-oh. MSN now has declared that this is a false narrative. False claim of U.S. biolabs in Ukraine tied to Russian disinformation campaign. What did I just say? Yet MSN had reported this April of 2021. That's our rating false. Our fact-checking sources. There are no tanks in Ukraine. Come on, people. You know better than that, don't you? Oh, Lordy. Oh, man. If you look over my shoulder here, I have a little saying up here, dogs welcome, people tolerated. How true is that? Yeah. Anyway, so when asked directly if he believed the Americans are developing biological weapons there, he said, quote, we have good reason to believe that this is exactly the case, end quote. U.S. Department spokesman dismissed his accusation as, quote, groundless, telling Newsweek in a statement that it was, quote, the latest in a long series of allegations about U.S. collaboration with foreign partners on public health matters. Foreign partners. You have to remember the English language is extremely specific. Partners means what? That we're in bed together. That means that I'll guarantee you that we are funding with U.S. tax dollars, your tax dollars, my tax dollars, these operations. And yes, the Department of Defense will say it's vital to the security, our national security, that we do these things. Make strange bedfellows, as it were. And this goes on and on and on about, claims by the Kremlin, misinformation claims by all these other people, and what does this say here? Let me get back here. Meanwhile, the Kremlin did not expect an apology from the U.S. for the killer comment. As experience shows, Americans, in principle, are not able to admit their guilt under any circumstance, despite his repeated criticism of the U.S. in the interview, which included taking swipes at the COVID-19 response and the Black Lives Matter movement. He was still optimistic that Moscow could work with Washington, citing the deal to extend the New START nuclear arms treaty as an example of cooperation. Well, you and I both know it just doesn't make sense. And now, and I have to ask this in heartfelt earnest. The intrusion into the Ukraine, which is occupying everybody's heart and mind, you do have to ask the question, why is it that the possibly, I won't say the largest, but one of the largest armies, military entities in the world, is having such a hard time working their way to what their objective is? If you dig under the surface a little bit like this show is doing, I'm going to guarantee you this show may not stay on YouTube, only because the powers that be, wait a minute, remember this little letter I started off with? Advanced Security from Meta, will probably call the entire program misinformation, false information. And you do have to ask the question or questions about many, many things that are not visible on the surface when you talk about situations around the world. And this is a situation that, because Europe went into DEFCON 2, if you know what DEFCON means, I've said this for 10 years. This is not going to end well. I know people. I know their devious mindsets. I can usually spot them a mile away. I call them out all the time, and have for the past 10 years. If you don't ask questions and blindly follow whatever you see on TV, you're streaming, you're on the internet, you're watching me, you're watching other people. You need to start listening to other news sources and take a grain of salt with those agencies too. I'll tune in to Sky News and see an entirely different news presentation than I do on MSN, NBC, CBS, ABC. But I'm telling you, they're in prime mode, prime disclosure, blah, blah, blah mode. They couldn't wait for this to happen. They stirred the pot, and now they're in the good old boy war room. And again, do not ever misinterpret that I'm in favor of anything that's going on. Yet I have to say, somebody pushed the wrong button in somebody else's, office. Now, I'm not talking the big red button. I'm talking about just the personality button. Rub them the wrong way. Stir the pot. It's no different than some of these news people, quote-unquote reporters. Have you really listened to some of the asinine questions they're asking people? Well, how'd you feel about that? How the hell do you think they feel about it? They're leaving their wife and kids to go try to defend their country. Why they're defending their country is more important than the fact that they're doing it. And then you've got some village idiot saying, well, we have the strongest sanctions that we've ever placed on Russia, and we'll give them 30 days and see how effective they are. Do you believe that? Do you think this little country, Ukraine, can last 30 days? I beg to differ. That ain't going to happen. Whether they have thwarted the movement of a of a huge, massive military incursion for temporarily. They're now, the news agencies are now estimating that by the end of the week, by Sunday, they will occupy the cities of Ukraine, major cities of Ukraine, Kiev, and one or two or three others. And basically, within 30 days, they will control that country, occupying and controlling the country. There it is, part of it, right there. Not COVID. And with that, I'm going to take a break. Hey, if you got news you want to send in, send it to news@thejustjimshow.com. Find me on Facebook. Find me on YouTube. Drop some comments. Watch the shows. Enjoy the shows. And, sometimes we got to laugh at ourselves. I need my laugh track out here. I don't know where it is. But I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back in a few minutes. And with that, we're back. A little more touch on the Ukrainian stuff going on. Anyway, Biden and Putin signal bigger confrontation ahead over the Ukraine. I just have to, these are articles coming in. We're reading them. And I'll tell you, I read them, I get them. Everybody else gets them. They just don't read them. During this confrontation between the two of these, I'm going to call them yutzes. I don't know what else to call them. Oots. Living in their roots. Roots. This was last Tuesday. As the U.S., they're playing a chess game right now, and you know it. We shut off, Germany shuts off the process of certifying the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia, a lucrative deal long sought by Moscow, but criticized by the U.S. for increasing Europeans' reliance on Russian energy. The U.S. moves to knock off the Russian government's ability to get Western finances. And in the middle of all this banter back and forth, earlier, this would have been earlier on two weeks ago, Tuesday. Earlier Tuesday, members of Russia's upper house, now that's like the House and the Congress, Senate and the Congress here, but it is, called the Federation Council, voted unanimously to allow Putin to use military force outside the country. Now, the English language and interpretation is extremely important here because they're allowing Putin to use forces outside of the country, meaning they're admitting that Ukraine is not part of Russian-held territory. Yet Putin comes out and says, "Oh, they're separatists. They want to be part. They are part of Russia." No, they used to be part of Russia. They're not. They're all not happening. They've gained their independence. So even the upper house, the Federation Council, is admitting that the Ukraine is outside of Russian territory, effectively formalizing a Russian military deployment to the rebel regions, where an 8-year conflict has killed nearly 14,000 people. That's on the 10 o'clock news every night, isn't it? Shortly afterward, Putin laid out 3 conditions to end the crisis that has threatened to plunge Europe back into war, raising the specter of massive casualties, energy shortages across the continent, and global economic chaos. 3 things. Are they happening? Are they starting to happen? Does anyone seem to be interested in stopping these 3 things that are starting to happen? Putin said the crisis could be resolved if Kiev recognizes Russia's sovereignty over Crimea, the Black Sea Peninsula that Moscow annexed after seizing it from Ukraine in 2014, renounces its bid to join NATO, and partially demilitarizes. Oh, God. Does this sound familiar? Has anybody been to the history class in the last 20 years? And warm water ports, free economic Gazinta Gazauta. If you bend over and I give you some KY jelly, is everything going to be okay? I don't. The EU announced initial sanctions aimed at the 351 Russian lawmakers, oligarchs, who voted for recognizing the 2 separate regions in the Ukraine, as well as 27 other Russian officials and institutions from the defense and banking sectors. Now, and of course, the innocent people of both Russia and Ukraine aren't able to get money. So they're not able to buy food, gas, or whatever else day-to-day life would want. And do you think ultimately a hungry belly is going to bow over? Or do you think ultimately the hungry belly is going to revolt because they want what they want? Wait a minute, that's the free enterprise system. Ooh. With tensions rising and a broader conflict looking more likely, the White House began referring to Russian deployments in the region known as Donbass as an invasion, after initially hesitating to use the term. Everybody's talking about it, but nobody's talking about it. Let's throw this out there. Even if Ukraine gets into NATO, and they've signed the formal paperwork, I think yesterday, and today there was acknowledgement that the NATO headquarters had gotten the paperwork, the request. Do you think NATO, the UN, and other countries have the cojones to actually do anything? And yes, I'm talking militarily. Do you think does anybody want to do that? Or is it the ultimate thought of someone hitting a red button, a little button, starting it, going to be the predominant thought process, which will keep NATO from actually stopping Russia from occupying Ukraine? I don't know the answer to that question, but you really do have to think about it, because ultimately that is what will dictate what they do. I'm thinking it's going to be easier for NATO to just refuse entrance into NATO of Ukraine and let the chips fall where they may. I truly think that's what's going to happen. Mark my word, I've been right before, but I don't know. And with that, we're going to move on. Let's see, what do we got here? That's not going to work. I got something not working. There's nothing there. We'll go over to this cam. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Just Jim Show. We have merchandise, lots of merchandise. You betcha. Support the news at the Just Jim Show. There it is. Hey, right here. I got him. Got the Just Jim coffee mug. This one's chipped. I must have washed it too vigorously. I got shirts, got tees, got hoodies. What else we got? Hoodies, yeah, even for the women. And one of my favorites down the lower left corner is what part of no don't you understand? I wear that tee all the time. Yes, I do. Get in there, get some. We'll send them out to you. Sorry, I keep itching my head. I was out running around this morning already, and whatever. We hey, we got a little beat going on here. Got the groove going on. All right, and this is probably inappropriate, but Sniffin' Joe has now sent out his first nomination for the Supreme Court of the United States of America. It is Justice Elena Kagan. And if you know anything about her, if you don't, go check her out. If you believe in abortion, hey, she's your girlfriend. Oh, yeah. Kagan took a firm line with Mississippi Solicitor General Scott Stewart, who appeared during an oral arguments at the court to defend Mississippi's controversial 2018 law banning abortion, including in cases of rape and incest before 15 weeks of pregnancy. She said that the court needed to avoid the perception that it was merely a political body without acknowledging that Roe itself had created that expectation. And argued that not much had changed as Roe and Planned Parenthood of southeastern Pennsylvania. Wait a minute. Southeastern Pennsylvania. Hold that thought. Against southeastern Pennsylvania versus Casey, the change of principles at stake. No basis is in the Constitution. How is the right to live the most basic right of all, not supported by the Constitution? Yes, it's, how do you defend abortion? I'm just asking. But now Pennsylvania. Let me get another little titty here, a little ditty to talk about. This, and we have Senate, Congress elections coming up, and where did I just say we were talking about? Let me turn this music on, because I'm going to play this, because this is probably more appropriate for one of the candidates that's running against Senator Ron Johnson for a Senate seat, Alex Lasry. Okay, his alma mater, University of Pennsylvania. He's previously served in the Obama White House. He is the son of billionaire businessman and owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. He owns part owner in the Milwaukee Bucks. He worked in the Obama administration from 2009 to 12. He went on to become special assistant to the chief of staff to senior advisor Valerie Jarrett. You know anything about Ms. Jarrett? She'll tell you everything you need to know. He got an MBA in 2014, moved to Milwaukee, and his family purchased the Milwaukee Bucks. That was in 2014. Since joining the Bucks, Lasry has been named leader in the team's transformation into one of the premier NBA franchises. Now, he runs... Let's knock it off. He runs ads on television claiming that he's all that and that he's got all these unions backing him because he built the Bucks arena and was part and parcel of that. And then during that ad, he shows union labor talking about bringing union jobs to Wisconsin. And he shows a picture of a welder as the graphic goes, $15 an hour. Do you know any union welder that works for $15 an hour? Now, that ought to tell you exactly where this bozo's head is at. And yeah, I'm calling him a bozo. He's a gilded, spooned child. His father, Mark, immigrated to the U.S. when he was 7 years old from Morocco. And his wife, and Kathy, his mother, grew up in Long Island. Alex graduated from Trevor Day School and then went on to graduate cum laude with honors in political science from the University of Pennsylvania. And did you know also that his wife sits on the board of directors for Planned Parenthood in Pennsylvania? Or did? Oh, Lordy. And I gotta say, yeah, right here it says right in his YouTube, or not YouTube, his Wikipedia page, he helped negotiate the historic Project Labor Agreement and the Labor Peace Agreement, including a $15 minimum wage. Yep. Did you know also that the University of Pennsylvania, I think it's in Pittsburgh, is the place where I mentioned earlier the Humanization of Mice Project is located. And lo and behold, remember I talked about aborted fetal body parts being part of the process where the U.S. government, Dr. Fauci, has spent $3 million purchasing batches of aborted fetal baby parts out of California, shipping them to the University of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Does that have anything to do with being a patriot or a conservative in America? Question mark. Does it? This is the guy who I'm just speechless at times that these people end up on a ballot. Ron, and I sent you notices. People are lifting your video for footage that you use to make a commercial. And I told you, hit them with a lawsuit. Hit them where they can't stand. They're broke. They lift your footage. You own the copyright. You have the rights to the footage. Yes, you do. Sue them until they can't stand it anymore. How dare somebody... Everything I play here, everything I use in my studio, I have a license for. I paid for it. I bought it. Soundtracks, the whole 9 yards. Everything. It's time that conservatives step up to the plate, put your money where your mouth is, and knock these liberal libtards out of the ballpark. Make them go away. You know, they talk about a red wave, a blue wave. There isn't a wave, and there's barely any two parties anymore. There's patriots and there's wood ticks. Do you know what a wood tick is, what it does? If you don't, you better go look one up. Somewhere around here. You go over on my webpage. I got a picture of a bunch of wood ticks sucking the life out of a snake. That's exactly what they do. Sneak up on your sorry little you-know-what and suck it out. Now, remember the biolabs. Remember what is... what did I do with that? I just missed it. There you go. Remember that the only thing that's going to stop this is people getting up off their couches, getting organized at a local level. School boards, county boards, city governments. That is, you have to do this. And that said, one of my upcoming shows, I will have a couple of local candidates for county board, interviews with them. And you guys got to get out and talk, shake hands, be open to meet people who are good people who are trying to do something and rebuild or reclaim America. And with that, I am going to play a little something. And my show today, be good to each other. It's all we got left. Agree to disagree going in, but be firm in what it is you believe, but listen. Listen to the other side. They'll tell you anything and everything you want to know. You can decipher it. You can talk about it. But sit down and have a beer when it's all over, because we're all Americans, supposedly. With that, God bless. We'll see you on the next show. Okay? Be good.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer, I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. And he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all. For all. Which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?